Shalom everyone and Shavua Tov. We are in Parashat Hayei Sarah, very special parasha, as you're going to see. Vayu Hayei Sarah, I'm reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 1. Vayu Hayei Sarah, 100 shana ו-20 shana ו-7 shanim shnei Hayei Sarah. It's like the opening verse of the parasha is the days of Sarah, the days of the life of Sarah, were 100 years. It's not my mistake, that's how the Torah says. 20 years and 7 years. Shnei Hayei Sarah, the years of the life of Sarah. But the parasha is about her death. And the next verse number 2, in chapter 23, Vatamot Sarah b'Kiryat Arba. And Sarah died in Kiryat Arba. He, Hebron, which is Hebron. So what is the message in this parasha? We know the story of the parasha is Sarah passed away. The Midrash is saying that she passed away on the moment of the binding of Isaac, which was the last story we read in the previous parasha. And Sarah dies in Kiryat Arba, in Hebron, and Abraham comes from Jerusalem. The binding of Isaac was in Mount Moriah. Okay, he comes to Hebron to lament Sarah. That's what it says, Lispod LaSarah v'Livkota. Vayakom Avram apnei mito. After the 7 days, after the Shiva, he gets up and he talks to the people of Chet, saying, which are the Hittites that live over there in Hebron, and he says, "I'm an alien. I'm not from here. I am a resident over here, and I need to have achuzat kever, a place to bury." In ancient time Israel, which is a small country, people didn't waste space on cemeteries. Every family had its own little cave, and in the cave you buried people from the family. What if it got crowded? There were a few chambers in every cave, and there was a big hole in the middle. So after a while, after the deceased totally decayed, only the bones were left. All the bones were collected into the middle hole. That's how it used to be. And that's why when the Bible says that somebody dies, Vaye'asef el avotav, he was collected to his ancestors, it means really literally that a year after he died, his bones were collected to the pile of bones of his ancestors. Okay, so Abraham needs a cave. He knows which cave he wants. He's not going to tell them that because then the price was going to go severely up. So he says, I need a place to bury. And they say, we admire you, we care for you. Just wherever you want. Just get yourself a cave. And he says, what about just a cave? He says, Ephron, you have a cave in your property. So take it. Take it for free. Abraham says, no. No free gifts. And I want the Marat HaMachpelah. And he sells it for 400 silver shekels. Why do we care? And if it was 600 shekels, would that change anything in your life? Or maybe 23 shekels, would that change anything in your life? So why the Torah needs to tell it to us? Okay? After this, Abraham buries Sarah, and then we have the big story about Eliezer, the slave of Abraham, going to Haran to find a wife for Yitzchak, for Isaac. Okay, which is an amazing story, and that covers the story of the parasha. I think we have some more stuff. We just have that after Yitzchak is getting married, Abraham takes another wife, another concubine, and she has children, and he sends them, it says, to the Far East. Okay? He sends them to the Far East. He gave them gifts after he gave everything he had to Isaac. If we have time, we're going to get into it. And then we hear about Abraham leaving this world, as it says in Genesis 25, verse 8, Vayigva, and he expired. Vayamot Avraham b'seiva tova. He died in good old age. Zaken v'savea old and satiated, which is something, the word satiated, you don't say with people dying, okay? But with Avram, yes, which means he really did the job. And we'll explain what does mean doing the job. Vayasef el amav, and he was collected to his people. Now, his ancestors are not buried in the cave, only Sarah. It looks like it was. So, and his sons, Yitzchak and Ishmael, married him to the Machpelah. Just think about it. After all what he taught, all his life, only 2 people came to the funeral. So he did nothing. Yes, they didn't need. How many people are affected from Abraham's wisdom? Billions. Billions and billions. We can understand humanity without Abraham's teachings, right? He was satiated, although only 2 people came to the funeral, because he said, I did my job. They'll come to it when it's time. You know, that big wisdom, that we should reach that place. Okay, and then we have at the end the story of Ishmael, that he grew up, created a nation, and he had 12 presidents to his nation, and they're being named over there. Let's start the beginning of this parasha. Hayei Sarah, because that engulfs the whole idea of the parasha. Okay, and it says as follows, Vayu Hayei Sarah, and the life of Sarah were, and then our question is, why does it say the life of Sarah if the parasha is around the death of Sarah? Okay, many commentators are asking this question, and it is about that she really lived. That's one explanation. And what does it mean? And then it says, I'll go back to the first verse, Perek of Gimel, chapter 23, verse 1. And the life of Sarah were 100 year, 20 year, and 7 years, Shnei Hayei Sarah. It sounds like the years of the life of Sarah. We already said that. The word year appears in this verse with all conjugations 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we know it's years. Why Shnei Hayei Sarah? We go to Rashi. He always gives us good hints, right? He never does all the job for us, but he does give us very good hints. And Rashi says, Shnei Hayei Sarah, kulan shavin letova. All of them are equally good. How do you explain what Rashi said? That all his life, all her life, each one of her years were equally good. Okay, how do you explain that with the message that Sarah passes on, and there's a legend that says she passes on exactly on the moment of the binding of Isaac, because Satan, the Dark Lord, comes to Sarah. He tries to really get into Abraham during the on the way to the binding, and Abraham, he doesn't care. He tries to get into Yitzchak, he doesn't care. So he said, you know what, I'll try with the mother. He goes to the mother and says, do you know what your husband is doing to your only son? Look. And he showed her the binding and how Abraham and Sarah passed away. Which means we learn from that Sarah passed away with anguish, that here her husband is killing her son. So why Rashi is saying that all the years are equally good? And we know if end is well, all is well. If it's not the end, if it's not well, it's not the end. Remember? So if Sarah passes on with anguish, how could Rashi say that all were good? And some commentators are saying, after we said 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, we'll give an answer lately for that. Shnei, why do we have to add Shnei, the years of Sarah, the life of Sarah? We already said the life of Sarah, we already said. So he said Shnei means also in Hebrew both. Both life of Sarah. And here Rashi is giving us the hint. What does it mean, both lives of Sarah? did she have a double life? And the answer is yes, she had. Not just herself, Abram, her husband, also had a double life. We just saw it in the previous chapter, just what we read before, yesterday. And it says as follows: when the angel of God is calling Abram after he binds Isaac, right? And it says that Abram is just going to slaughter him, okay? He takes, what's the word exactly? Okay, and Abram, we're talking about chapter 22, verse 10. Vayishlach Avram et yado, and Abram is sending his hand, Vayikach et ha'mechelet, takes the knife, lishchot et bno, to slaughter his son. Vayikra alav malach Hashem min hashamayim, and the angel of God is calling him from the heavens. Vayomer, and he says, Avraham, Avraham. Vayomer hineni, and Abram answers, here I am. And our question is, why the angel is saying Avraham, Avraham twice? Oh, he was very old, he didn't hear well, right? No, that's not the answer. Says the Zohar as follows. There's a lot of midrashim, not just in the Zohar, saying that. He was not the only one. It says Jacob, Jacob, Yaakov, Yaakov, Moses, Moses, if you remember the 10 Commandments, Moses, Moses, why twice? Those people had double life. They lived in the world to come, Olam Haba, and in this world simultaneously. They lived in both worlds at the same time, and Sarah as well. And that's why we say both lives of Sarah. So when Rashi says all of them were equally good, he means that her life in the world to come and her life in the physical world were equally good. And here we come to an amazing concept that we learn from Abraham and Sarah. And I think that most people that see themselves monotheistic followers of Abraham and Sarah did not internalize it yet. And I'll explain why. What is it about? There are a lot of people who are religious, in many religions, who call themselves monotheistic, that their teachings is based on you make the effort and your reward is in the world to come, which means after you die. Okay? Now, this is a myth, has nothing to do with the teachings of Abraham and Sarah, and the words we just read are proof for that. Why? And I'll explain. How do we really get it? When we learn about the creation of the universe, we learn that the universe has been created perfect, right? Everything was perfect. The creator is the source of all what is good. And that's why we said, and God said, let there be light, and the light was good, which means, says the Zohar, every good that a human being feels and experiences, it's a derivative, it's an extension of that light of the Creator. Okay? However, we learn, and it's the place it's the most completely explained is by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, that Rabbi Ashlag, the commentator of the Zohar, he's a follower and maybe an incarnation of the Ramchal, some say so. Okay, and if you read both writings, it's like it's very, very, very similar. And what the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, he's a great Kabbalist from Italy, 18th century, and he says, since we were created with the ability to receive, because what is the Creator about if not giving, sharing, light, love, energy, pleasure? So we were created as creatures that are built to enjoy and experience pleasure. So, as Rav Ashlag explains and expands it, To understand that, we have to understand that we were made as vessels to experience and receive pleasure, and that's the purpose of our creation. And that's why, when we read in Parashat Kitavo, in Dvarim, Deuteronomy, all the curses that if you don't follow this book, it says all these curses are תחת אשר לא עבדת את השם אלוקיך בשמחה ובטוב לבב. Translation, it's because, why all the curses? You did not worship the Lord your God with happiness and good heart. Which means, what is the biggest mitzvah of them all? It is to be happy and to experience pleasure, because that's what we were created for. Every human being. This is our calling, this is our future, this is our purpose, and that there's no other purpose. However, says the Ramchal, Rav Ashlag explains it this way: when the Creator created us, He gave us everything. Little problem, He gave us Himself. And He is the Creator, so He created us in His image. And therefore, we can't enjoy what somebody else creates for us. We need to have a share with the creative process. And therefore, the world had to go through a big contraction, that's Tzimtzum, and this world has been created, the world that we know. In this world, everything is almost complete. The Creator just left it a little bit missing so we can complete it and feel like we did the job. And by this, we can enjoy the creation because earning it. And since then, Ramchal is saying, people do not feel comfortable receiving gifts for nothing. Maybe just if you have a friend and you give him a gift on a birthday, and he gives you a gift on the birthday, that's okay. But when you are starting to create a dependency, when your pal is giving and you're just receiving food, money, entertainment, whatever, and you just receive and receive, people become sick of it. Why? Because deep in ourselves, we have the image of the Creator. And that means that since the Creator gets from no one and needs no one, we feel uncomfortable when we are dependent on someone. So that's the way it is. So in this world, we are here for one purpose and one purpose alone, which is to enjoy the pleasure of the Creator, but we have to earn it. And that's why life are not so easy. Why? That's our choice. That's how we wanted it. We don't want free gifts. We can't enjoy free gifts. Only for a short little time, but then it doesn't stay. So, after understanding this introduction, now we understand we have another question. Asking Rabbi Ashlag, he's asking in his summary to volume 2 in the book of his commentary to the Tree of Life, Talmud Eser Sfirot. And he says as follows: what we're really supposed to get, what we're really supposed to receive is endless light and pleasure, do you think that working very hard for 70, 80, 90 years on earth, that will be enough? He says it's like you see somebody on the street, he has a problem to lift a bag with groceries, you help him with the bag, and he gives you 1,000,000 golden coins for your work. Does that look like you got a free gift or you work for it? No, it looks like a free gift because there's no relativity between the amount of work you made and the reward you got in return. So if you just help somebody to put a grocery bag in his car and you get 1,000,000 golden coins, you still have bread of shame, which is the shame of receiving something for nothing. Correct? So says Rav Ashlag, so let's say we work very hard. let's say we suffer a lot for 70, 80, 90 years, and then we get endless light of pleasure. What 70 years? Nothing. Nothing. Which means he didn't solve the problem. So why we're here? What for? So he says, this is a big misconception, says Rav Ashlag. We don't get the story. We do not get the story at all. And let me explain. Let's read first the Zohar of Parashat Hayei Sarah. והיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים. רבי יוסי פתח ואמר. Verse 1 in the commentary of a Sulam of Rabbi Ashlag. And he starts and he quotes from the book of Jonah. Everybody knows the book of Jonah? That prophet. He had a prophecy. He ran away from the prophecy. He goes into a ship in the port of Jaffa. They sail into the Mediterranean. There's a big storm, right? And then during that storm, everybody's praying to God to help him. And the captain goes to Jonah and says, why kum ben adam alecha nirdam? Human beings, why are you asleep? Kum kra le'elohecha, get up and call your God. And he says, how can I call my God? I'm running away from him. And he says, you know what? And I think that all storm is because of me. And finally, he convinces, he says, why you guys should die? Because I am supposed to die. Why? You're not supposed to die. Throw me to the sea and you'll be saved. So the story is that they take Jonah, they lower him into the sea, and the sea is quiet. They pull him back, the sea is stormy again. So finally, they apologize, they throw Jonah into the sea, and let's continue the story. And that's a quote. "Vaisu et Yonah vayitiulu elam," and they carried Jonah, and they threw him into the sea. "Vayamod hayam mizapo," and the sea stopped its rage. "Hachait listakla," we have to look at it, says the Zohar. Matam, what's the reason? "Arishat yama alei de Yonah, vela arishat alei ara, kevan da va'azel begindelat isha alei shchinta, yama ama yachedvei kada ve'azal." Okay, he ran away from the Holy Land because he had the Holy Spirit on him, the spirit of prophecy on him. He thought when he leaves the country, the spirit of prophecy will leave him outside the Holy Land. So why the sea tried to get a hold on him when he ran away, and not the land? He was running away from the land, not from the sea. So, to make it the story short, because I want to get to our issue, I'm skipping right now to verse 4 in the Perush Sulam, the commentary of Rav Ashlag, verse 4 on the Zohar. Kevad shenishloach el hayam. Listen carefully. Since he was thrown into the sea, parcha mimeno nishmato, he drowned, and his soul left him. Ve'alta ad kisei hamelech venidona lefanav. His soul came to the throne of the King of the universe and was judged in front of him. And his soul was given back to him. And then that fish swallowed him. There was a big fish that swallowed him. You know, that's our, the story of Pinocchio. They stole the... okay? But then the fish died. Then the fish was resurrected. And the fish spit Jonah back on the shore. After Jonah did tshuva, he repented and he promised God, I'm going to do what you want me to do. Okay? We have one resurrection. Jonah drowned and came back to life. Then the fish died and came back to life. Two resurrections at once. Okay? Now, how does that story look like? I don't know if before, somebody was swallowed by a fish and then the fish spit him on the shores and he is alive. Give me a break. This story is totally insane. You want another insane story? But the parasha is another insane story. The parasha says, when Sarah has been buried, listen to that. She was not the first one to be buried in the cave of Machpelah. Who were the first ones to be buried? Adam and Eve. Says the Zohar, when Sarah was buried in the cave, Adam and Eve rose from their graves and said, how can we criminals be buried next to such a righteous woman? And they ran away from the cave. Okay? Abram runs after them and tries to convince them to come back and to lie down in the cave. He even promises Adam is going to pray for his soul, for his correction. So Adam goes back to lie down in his grave. How does that story sound by now? You think we went overboard? No, we didn't. Now listen to the next thing. But Adam goes and lies back in his grave. Eve stays outside. So Abram goes to Sarah. Remember, she just died and he just buried her, right? And he says, Sarah, I can't with her. She doesn't listen to me. Maybe you should do that because, woman to woman works better. So Sarah gets out of her grave. She goes outside. She talks to Eve. She promises her to pray for her, whatever, till finally Eve goes back and lies down in her grave. How does that story sound like? Huh? Okay? And there's another story the Zohar is bringing. I always bring this stuff because it's so amazing. The story, it's a story from another era. Many years later, descendants of Abraham and Sarah. There's a big war between the Philistines and the Israelites. And one of these biggest battles, Krav Afek, not far from the springs of the river of Yarkon, where the whole metropolitan Tel Aviv is drinking from. Okay? There's a battle, a crucial battle. And the Israelites, they bring the Ark of the Covenant to the battle. And they lose in the battle. And the Philistines are that's in the book of Judges. And the Philistines are, it's Shmuel, the book of Shmuel, the beginning. The Philistines take the Ark of the Covenant to their place. They bring it to their biggest city, I think it was Gaza, and they put the Ark to the feet of their idol, Dagon. They celebrate the whole night. They dance, they get drunk, whatever. They won against the God of the Israelites. Okay, they wake up in the morning. The statue of Dagon is broken into little pieces. The city has a plague of rats everywhere, and everybody in the city is plagued with hemorrhoids, which means you can't go anywhere. Right? So what do they say? They say something very, very weird. We celebrated enough, we should share with our neighbors, so they give the Ark of the Covenant to another Philistine city. You know what they do? They put the Ark in their temple by the feet of their God, okay? And they celebrate the whole night, and when they wake up in the morning, guess what? Rats, hemorrhoids, the statue is broken, okay? So suddenly they become very, very generous and say, oh, we can't hold the Ark of the Covenant just for ourselves, and they give it to another Philistine city. So there were 5 of them, so after 5 nights, nobody wanted to hold the Ark. So the 5 heads of the Philistine cities, they get together. What should we do with that? Nobody wants to take the Ark of the Covenant. So they say, we're going to make a test. And what we're going to do, what is going to be the test? We're going to make a new wagon from new wood. We're going to tie to the wagon 2 nursing cows, while the calves, the babies of these cows, will tie to the gate of the city. Now, if everything was by mistake, the cows will do what is natural, and they'll go to their babies, to the calves. But if it's the hand of God, the Lord of the Israelites, the cows will go and take the Ark of the Covenant back to the Israelites. And it says they harness the cows, they put the Ark of the Covenant on the wagon, and the cows, it says, Vayasharna haparot. Simple translation. And the cows went straight to Beit Shemesh, and there till the people of Beit Shemesh are in the harvest, and suddenly they see the cows coming with the ark. But the Zohar says, no, no, no. Vayasharna means in Hebrew, and the cows were singing. What were they singing? They singing psalm. Mizmor shiru Lashem shir chadash. A psalm, sing to the Lord a new song. What's new song? Cows singing psalms? That's new, right? Okay. Did we have enough? So, that takes us to the previous parashot. Learning about what is logical is not real, and what is real is not logical. There are two worlds. In one world, everything is normal and logical, and very, very painful. Lots of people, they try to be normal. They think their calling is getting up in the morning, drinking their coffee, going to work, maybe saying, have a good day to your spouse and to your children and so on. You do your job, you earn your money, you come back home, you sit by the TV, you drink some beer, you watch baseball, whatever, then you go to sleep, and maybe you do some charity over here, but you have a normal, nice life. Okay? That doesn't happen. You know why it doesn't happen? How many people do you know that it works for them? They just go by, and they're normal. They have a normal life, quiet, no bothering. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. There are always some obstacles that get you out, and you want to hold on to that normal life. Why? Because that's not our calling. We were not created for that. We were not created to be slaves for building a house, building a home, raising a family. All of this stuff is part of our lives, but that's not our calling. That's not what are we here for. What are we here for? As we said before, we're here for to discover what? Discover the light of the Creator, which is endless. Where? In this physical world. One of the biggest mistakes people are making, the biggest mistake, is definition of my life goal. Why? We're here, as we said, to experience endless joy. So what religions are saying, this is the world to come. You'll experience it after you die. So say the Jewish sages, Olam Haba. How do you translate Olam Haba into English? Usually the world that will come. But that's not how it says. Olam Haba is in present tense. Present tense, which means it's the world that is coming. It's coming at you every second, again and again and again. It doesn't stop coming at you. The question is, are you welcoming that world? Are you saying, welcome in Hebrew is Baruch Haba. Baruch Haba to Olam Haba. It's coming at you. Are you welcoming it? Are you receiving it? Do you really take your position as a vessel for the pleasure and the light of the Creator? That's the question. This is the question. Having a normal life, this is a curse. You want to have a life, you have to live Olam Haba. You have to connect. You have to have the yearnings and the desire to connect to Olam Haba. But how do you do that? So that's what Abraham and Sarah discovered, basically. That's why they are those great people that change the history of mankind. And most people don't even know what the message is about, but they still, there's one God, there's one God, there's one God. Well, there's one God. So what's the difference? You have 100 gods, 20 gods, or one God. Most people visualize it as they were kids. There's a God sitting on a cloud. And if there are 20, there are enough clouds for all of them, right? So what's the difference? Why fighting about it? But when you sing the end of the Seder, okay, we count all the numbers. And the first one is Echad mi yodea. One, who knows? Echad ani yodea. One, I know. Echad Elokeinu. There's one God, our God. Shebashamayim uvaretz, in the heaven and in the earth. No, there's no God in the heaven. There's God in the heaven and in the earth. Ein od milvado. There's nothing but God, which means everything is God. Everything is part of God. And therefore, because every human being is part of God, is entitled for happiness, freedom, and excitement in his life. And therefore, nobody has the permission to take it away from him. Also, animals, you have to respect everything because everything has God within it. If you understand that, that's a different universe. That's a different universe. So if God is endless pleasure, Rav Ashlag is asking, how can we connect to God? Because the Torah is saying, Ki yetzer lev ha'adam ra minurav. We read it in Bereshit. Because the inclination of the heart of a human being is evil from birth. The heart, not the soul. The heart. How can I connect to the Creator, which is endless, loving, compassion, and greatness, if I'm evil and selfish? If I'm egotistic? Because equals can attract. But if it's not equals, they distract. Which means, if I want to connect to the endless light of the Creator, I want to experience the light of the Creator, which means well-being, which means excitement, which means happiness, which means everything that is inspiration, right? Invention. Where is it coming in from? From out of the box, from the Creator. That's what it's all about. How do you do that? You have to become alike with God in order to attach to those. So how do you do that? Being selfish, as I said many, many times. I went around the world, I met thousands of people, I spoke with a lot of people, I advised a lot of people. I never met happy, selfish people. Why? Selfishness is the opposite, the other direction of the creation from the Creator himself, from his endless light. The moment you're selfish, it's a self-destructive. That moment, you cannot get whatever you want. What a pity. So the more you're selfish, and that's why the Seder says, En adam met vechatzi tavato beyado. A person cannot die with even half of his lust being fulfilled. So how can I fulfill my lust? For the light of the Creator. And the answer is what Abraham and Sarah were teaching us. The only way is to do chesed. Not because it's morally nice, not because it's ethically nice. That's another lie, says Rav Ashlag. People say ethics and morals, it's humanism. We understood along the generation when we people are nice to each other, it's because it fulfills our interest, because when everybody is nice to each other, then we have a nice society. Yes? Wrong. Why wrong? Because you're nice just because of your interest. And when you find a way to gain a lot of money and a lot of pleasure on somebody else's expense, you're going to step on him and enjoy it. And that's how you see people being raised in an amazing European, American education with all these values. And when they have the opportunity to steal and to cheat, they do that. Because, I can enjoy that more than being nice to people. So why won't I steal? If humanism is teaching me that everything I do is for my own selfish interest, so when my selfish interest says it's not now it's not your interest to be nice to people. Now I'll be nice to myself, I take from people, and then later on I'll be nice. I'll be nice to my family. I'll be nice to my friends that I share with them whatever I stole from others. That's the only way, if you think about it, to explain 2008. Why everything collapsed in the American economy. Just that. The ethics have been, changed a little bit. Nothing would change. Everybody was taught it's, your interest. So my interest now to make a lot of money, and then I'll be nice to others. I'll give charity, Why, you don't have a lot of charity events when people come and donate millions after they stole billions? No, you don't have this stuff. Of course you do. That's when it's ethics based on human logic. Human logic is sick. Human logic is sickening, because human living just in a world with human logic, you get lost, because you get yourself into horrible places. And the message of Abraham and Sarah was totally different. The logic was, as we said last parasha, the light of the Creator is intense, it's endless. The only way we can tap into that light without being consumed and go on fire, like Sodom and Gomorrah, is by becoming like the light, by sharing and giving and being there for others. Not because I want them to say thank you, not because I need them to thank me, just because that's a way to connect to the endless light of the Creator. Says Rav Ashlag, when you do it this way, you're not a slave. Why? When I give to, let's say, my wife, to my children, to my neighbors, to my friends, logically, when I do it in a logical way, I'm a slave, because I'm giving and I'm starting to keep accounting how much I gave and how much they gave back. How much I gave, how much I gave back. It's sickening. It makes you sick. Because when you're born, you were not given a licensed accountant, right? A license of being an accountant. You are not. That's not your job. Your job is to become happy. And making accountings and being happy doesn't go together. I think you know that the people that you met all your life, the more accounting they make, the less happy they are, the more upset they are. Whenever we just trying to do the accounting of how much I gave and how much I got back, I'm enslaved to that. So the verse in Leviticus says what? Love others as you love yourself, I'm God. What's that I'm God doing over here? Not because they are going to be nice to you, not because it's an ethical rule. Do it because that's a way to connect to the source of pleasure, which is God. That's why you're doing it. And if the other person does not appreciate, does not thank, that's his problem. That's none of mine problems. Just think about it, says Rav Ashlag, that every human being on earth will be driven to connect to the pleasure of the connection to the God, to the godly force, the endless force. And everyone will know that I do it only, the only way to get there is to transform myself from desire to receive for the self alone to the desire to receive for the sake of sharing. That's the only way. So how do I do it? When you feel good, when you get something good, when you do something, make sure always that other people enjoy it too. Because that's how you make yourself from a finite vessel, ratzon, to an infinite pipe, tzino. That's how you do that. So when we say that the life of Sarah, both of them, were equally good, what is Rashi saying? Sarah enjoyed the world to come in her physical world too. She did not have anguish. She did not have anxiety. And when she passed it on, she didn't pass on because she was startled with anguish about the binding and the slaughtering of Isaac. She saw how Isaac is ascending to heavens, and she went with him. From their heat, as we read before in Parashat Vayera, from the heat of her passion to connect to the upper world. And is well, all is well. So all her life, all her years, the double life she led, she lived in the upper world and in the lower world at the same time. That's what we are all expected to do. And that's why we are supposed to study and to meditate and to learn that our consciousness is so powerful beyond our logic, because our logic is so limited. And if you let your logic to lead your life, you're doomed to a life of boring, slavery, upsetting, unfulfilling, because as long as you follow your logic, you stay selfish. Because what is your logic saying? What about me? What are you gaining? What do I get from that? Right? I didn't see anything. They didn't say thank you. How much they gave you for that? Right? That's your logic. Or your wife or your husband. Right? And this is why. When we come later on, let's skip to verse 21 in the Zohar. 21 in the Zohar. Whoever has the Zohar, you can get to verse 21 in the Zohar commentary. אשריהו מי שממעט את עצמו בעולם הזה. Praiseworthy is the one that makes himself small in this world. Humble. כמה הוא גדול ועליון בעולם הנצחי. How great and divine and elevated he is in the eternal world. Which means you have a double life. In this physical world, people think it's like, this guy has no ego whatsoever. This guy doesn't care. You insult him, he doesn't answer back. I'm not talking about turning the other cheek. It's like you're too busy creating your life than getting even with so many people. And the winners in this world don't have time to get even with the losers who always take from them something, right? The losers are the ones who always try to get even. That's why they don't have time to become winners, because they don't create. They're always getting even and busy with the accounting system, which is it's killing you. Okay? וכן פתח ראש הישיבה. So open the head of the yeshiva in the upper world, in the Garden of Eden. There are many academies over there. And one of them, that's where we are at right now. מישהו קטן בעולם הזה, whoever is small in this physical world, whoever is not trying to make himself famous and great and big and like looking for a lot of honor and stuff like this. הוא גדול בעולם הנצחי, is big in the upper world, in the real eternal world. שכתוב, היו חיי שרה, why? חיי שרה 100 שנה. Remember we said 100 year. The big 100 is counted as a year. 20 year. 7 years. Which means the big is considered small and the small is considered big. That's how Sarah lived. She didn't think, do you know who I am? She never came to somebody saying that. Do you know who I am? I'm Sarah. I'm going to be famous. People are going to raise my name for millennia. No, she knew that. She was a prophet. She was even a higher prophet than Abraham. Because when they have an argument, God says whatever to Abraham, whatever Sarah tells you, because a bigger prophet, says Rashi, has to listen to smaller prophet has to listen to a bigger prophet. And she was the bigger prophet. Just think about it. All those guests that came. Abraham says, welcome, but who fed them? Who prepared the food? Who made it possible for Abraham to have guests? Without Sarah, forget about it. So, okay, who was a bigger giver, Abraham or Sarah? You guess. Now, בורא שאין הקדוש ברוך הוא מגדיל אלא למקטין עצמו. Come and see, God does not raise only the one who makes himself small. ואינו מקטין אלא למגדיל את עצמו. And he doesn't make small only to the people that try all the time to make themselves big, especially in our generation. How many people made themselves so big? I'm this, and then their collapse was so embarrassing. Just think about all of those tyrants. Remember, once in a while you hear about the fall of those great tyrants and how embarrassing and how diminishing it was, like Ceausescu and Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi and Marcos and all of these stories about how they fall. It's so miserable, so miserable. So, but there's another thing in order to emphasize that. Remember we said there's a question. Why do we care that Abraham bought the cave of Machpelah for 400 silver shekels? okay? Which was a lot of money in those days. Why do we care if it was 400, 600? They could have said 1 million. We wouldn't care, the less. However, the answer is like this. Says the Zohar, we are now in verse 96. And it says as follows. Amar Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia says, Rabbi Elazar said, כי דומה יודע זה שהגוף ראוי לשכר תף עולמות, קודם שהגוף מראה לו. The angel responsible for the dead, he knows that the reward is 400 worlds of light. Okay? משום שמכריזים על זה בגן עדן, it's being announced in the Garden of Eden when somebody righteous comes to the Garden of Eden. אבל אני כך שמעתי שבעת שנותנים להנשמה המכתב לסימן, חוזרת אז על הגוף להכניסו בחשבון הצדיקים על ידיו של דומה, וזהו שכתוב, אך אם אתה לו שמעני, נתתי כסף השדה כך ממני. מהו כסף השדה? I'll skip what it says. What I mean, the money of the field, the silver of the field. Kesef in Hebrew means silver, but it has another meaning too. Kisufim. Yearnings. Kesef, that verb means to yearn. What are we yearning when we're here on earth? The light of the Creator, the endless light of the Creator. That's supposed to be our yearning. So when you really yearn for the right thing, this is your cravings. This is what you're waiting for. This is your lust. If you really lust for something, this is what you lust. That's your lust. L-U-S-T, right? Hu hakosef v'achemda, for that precious 400 olamot, these 400 worlds שנותנים לו לגוף לרשת. So the body inherits after the time is up. What does it mean? We said to the body, what in the body? And here comes another thing. So the Rabbi Ashlag explains, the moment we are born, the Creator gives us enough days to live so we can complete the job. The job is not having children or making money. This is not the job. This is not the goal. These are the means. The goal is achieving that light of the Creator. But the only way you can achieve that light of the Creator is when you're turning yourself from selfishness into altruism, but spiritual altruism. A lot of altruist people, they go around like always sour. Why is it that people are not giving? Why other people are not giving? It's like they're so righteous about it and they're so sour. If you're sour, all of your work, what did it give you? Why are you sour? You're not supposed to be sour. You're supposed to be happy about living, about life. What's a sour face is about? It's because you have a sour heart, because you missed the point. Sarah did not have it. All her years were equally good in the upper world and in the lower world. Equally. Why? Because when you share with other people, when you care with other people, when it could be like doing your job, simply doing your job. Ever happened to you that you hire somebody to do the job for you, and without too much hassle, he does it? He simply does it, and you don't have to run after him, to clean after him, and to finish. It's like, why do I have, I paid him. Why do I have some more work after he did the work? Right? You know what I'm talking about? If you're in Israel, somebody does the job completely, what do you say? Messiah has come. Right? The Mashiach is here. Why? Because that's what Mashiach is about. The Baal Shem Tov says, how do we know the Messiah has come? When everybody does their job. There's no bigger giving and sharing then somebody pays you and you simply do the job. Simply do it. And the other person can simply do his job because he counts on you to do your job. And that's what society is about. You do your job, I do my job. When everybody does their job perfectly, that's Mashiach. That's the coming of the Messiah. Then we live happily. Why? But you start to do the job. You already think, they're going to pay me so much. I don't think, maybe I should get some more, right? You know what I'm saying? So you start already an argument. First with yourself, how does your job look like when you don't think that you got enough? Not the best. When people do the job because I want to do the best because that's how I'm connecting to God. That's how I'm connecting to the light. That's how I take my body, which is only about me. You see all of these like products today. It's either I something or something me, right? It's all about I and me. This religion is self-destructive. Be careful. Remember, I'm warning you. This is self-destructive. It's all about us. If it's about me, you'll be finished. If you're a kid in Israel, you come to school with something good to eat. Your mother made an amazing sandwich. Everybody in class say, Misha ochel levad met levad. You eat alone, you die alone. Okay? It's like you can't. You can't just have it for yourself. This is illegal in the universal law. So when you get out of the me and you get out of the I, this is the paradox. That's when you really can get happy. Why? Because, the Zohar explains, you're born with this endless desire to receive for the self alone. How much light can you get for that? On and off. A little on and a lot off, right? That's why kids are manic depressive. They get so excited about something, then they cry like the end of the world has come. You notice that, right? When you grow up, you start to learn that you cannot just do that, and you lower your expectations not to get such explosions. Wrong. You should expand your expectation, but in return, you should expand your sharing with others, your responsibility for others. The whole Torah is about transforming our desire to receive alone, to do itself alone, into desire to receive for the sake of sharing. We just read about it yesterday on Shabbat of Vayera. Abram binding Isaac. Abram is the sharing, Isaac is the receiving. When you bind the receiving, then from that moment on, if you commit to that, that's your covenant. Every time you are getting something, it's bound, conditioned by, just a second, I have to give others. That's what tithing is about. That's what charity is about. That's what about committing to be there for others without strings attached, right? You help yourself. And that's how you, little by little, you start to change the frequency of your desires and your passion to desire to receive for the sake of sharing. Now, if you don't do that, every time you want something, you connect to the light of the Creator, because the sages are saying, when we did the Tzimtzum, we sent the light away. The light didn't care about it. The light is still there everywhere. So every time we invite it in, he comes in. Then we get a hi. If we don't share, we get bye. Then we get a short circuit. So if we turn it every time we receive our passions fulfilled, every time we get it, we share with it until we create that circuitry of ongoing flowing light. And that means that the world to come is not the world to come, it's the world that is coming. You experience again Olam Haba, and again Olam Haba, by being with people, by doing something with people. Why? Just simply doing your job and helping people, being paid. Every time you pay, you're happy for what you did, for the job? No. Sometimes it's an amazing experience. Sometimes it's an experience you want to forget, right? Or to sue. We get our life, says Rav Ashlag, 70, 80, 90 years, so we can transform that desire to receive for the self alone into desire to receive for the sake of sharing. The moment we do that, we receive endless. because we're not the end anymore. We're now infinite. Whatever we get as a pipe, how much stays with us? When you connect to the endless, you are in endless. You are in the endless. That's it. And then everything in your life looks in heaven. So where is the reward? In the afterworld or in this world? In this world. And if you don't, and that's why if people say, I gave all my life and I'm so upset that the people did not give, if you are sour about it, you did not do the right job. You gave, and what you got, you didn't change, because you're always giving on a logical level. Why the Torah? Why all of these stories about illogical about, and the resurrection is like, was Sarah dead or not? So says the Zohar, this is all of it is about the secret of immortality. Because what is immortality? The Zohar says, let's go back to Adam. He was created and he was told, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. On the day you'll eat from that tree, you will die. Adam dies after celebrating 930 years. What consequence? That's not scary at all, right? So some people say, no, one day is 1,000 years. Still, you didn't solve the problem. The Zohar says, no. Now you're grown up. You can think for yourself. Adam, the moment he ate from the tree of knowledge, what does it say? When Eve saw it was good to eat, she felt the good. It was lust. The moment it was lust, she died. Something died in her. Because every time the Zohar says we are selfish, we connect to death. And that moment we get disappointed, we get upset, we get angry. Whatever emotions we get in, but the light has come to an end. Why? That is tasting death. And it says the Zohar in Parashat Hayei, every time you do that, you taste death and you get some death points. When these death points come to a critical mass, you physically die. That awakens that power that is called in Aramaic man'ula, the lock. The lock. You want to connect to the, not to lock, to unlock, maftucha, you have to turn your desires into desire to receive for the sake of sharing. You open the flow of light, you open your life. So, Sarah and Abraham reached that secret. They became eternal. They lived eternal life. How do you know you live eternal? I always say, Methuselah, he lived till 960. You know what happened? They celebrated his birthday. Everybody went home and he dropped dead. How long should you live to know that you are immortal? And the answer? If you live by one day and everything that happened, and you even unfortunate things happen, and you look at it and you say, you know, there was a reason for that. We'll find what's the good to come out of it. And it never killed you. You know, people say, this killed me, this destroyed me, this finished me. You don't live in, that's living in the logical world. But Sarah had a double life. She never allowed anything to kill her. And that's why she lived forever. She's still alive. That's why the Zohar says, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rivka, Jacob and Leah and Rachel. But especially, they are called the sleepers of Hebron. They don't die. They just asleep. How do we know? Look how they affect our lives 4,000 years later. They're not dead people. You know, there are many secrets about it, but it's not the time for it. So if you go one day and nothing killed you, and you didn't get any death points, you had 1 day of immortality. Now, you live another day, and you didn't get death points on that day. You had 2 days of immortality, 3 days of immortality. And when you reach to the place in which your death points are so rare, in which you achieved what is called immortality, because nothing can kill you now. So when Abraham expires, when Sarah, she takes off, they didn't die. These guys simply I've done my job, and now I can take off and live my real life. Before that, I had a double life. On the physical world, people saw me, oh, that's a nice old man. That's a nice old lady. Oh, they're so righteous. But nobody really understands. Because how many people ran after them? I want to be like you. I want to be like you. I want to live like you. Not too many. Because they didn't know the secret. The secret that real life is about. So then you go to work in immortality. You make a living in immortality. You create a family with immortality. Everything is different because everything feels like a miracle, and then you do always what is not logical, but is real. What is beyond the box, beyond the limitations, and you're not limited by what everybody tells all the time. Oh, you should be like this, you should be like this. That's how your life should be, and that's how your life should be, and this is the norm, and this is, oh, you're crazy, you shouldn't do that. And Steve Jobs said, the crazy people who wanted to change the world, these are the ones who change it. Only to the last days of his life he realized that doing it with vengeance is not, it's killing you, because it killed him. The guy created so much, and he died with terrible pains, realizing that he did it wrong. So if you ever look for the legacy of Chief Steve Jobs, how he says, I realize that loving and care, this is the real thing. So it's not just getting the job done. Who cares? Let's step on them. The price is too high. It's called death. And not death. When you're 70, when you're 80, 90, that's dying every moment again. Because this will kill you, and this will kill you, and this will kill you. It's enough to die. And this is the covenant Abraham and Sarah were preaching for. The covenant and the commitment to be that person that is a person that is aligned with the Creator, with light, love, and care. Thank you so much, and good luck with that. Shavua Tov.